All right, I have that it is 6 o'clock. We will call this meeting to order, and we will stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much. All right, first order of business. Diana sent out meeting minutes from last month's meeting. So do we, hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. Anybody have a motion or questions, comments on the meeting minutes?
Make a motion that they're accepted.
Okay. All right, we got a first motion.
I'll second.
Second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Meeting minutes are accepted from last meeting. All right. Next item on the agenda. So, well, first of all, we have a quorum for BZA. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have a quorum for BZA, and we have a quorum for planning. All right. So we will move forward with regular business on that. First item on BZA business is you have an application from a resident for a development standard variance and a use variance. Now, Mr. Hoffman, so you can come on up. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your application on this. And this is regarding 50 East Michigan, which is the kind of the abandoned rundown house at the corner there of Pennsylvania and Michigan. And all right, so in your application, I'm just wanting to clarify, you have requested the standard variance, I assume related to the setback, because it doesn't really clarify that here. And then the use variance related to the type of dwelling you want to put on there.
Right, yeah.
So you are not requesting a zoning change.
Not to my knowledge.
So you want it to stay zoned R5.
With a variance to multifamily, yes. If I've made a mistake there, I apologize. From what I ascertained from your paperwork, the two applications that I made were in the ballpark of what I needed, or at least was asking.
All right. Well, so just to kind of go through, so this is the out of our UDO up on the screen. If I need to make that bigger, I can. The what? Control plus? Oh. Oh, that's right. All right, so residential use R5 with the multifamily, you cannot get a special use for multifamily in this UDO. You can use multifamily with an R4, so you'd have to rezone R4. Now you can do, if you look down just a little bit, see where it says dwelling 2 family. So you could do a duplex with special use under this. So if your request for the use variance you want that to stay of I want a duplex, then you can do that with this continued application. Otherwise, you would need to go through and get a zone change application to make it R4, and that would take an extra step. This board can recommend to the town council for a zone change, but we can't do a zone change here. It has to go before the town council.
But you will speak this evening about a duplex, is that correct?
Use variance. A use variance will allow a duplex, a 2-family dwelling. Okay. But that would be just for this particular application that you made. And then the other application was the setback question. on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that I was clarifying that information. All right. So that property currently, like I said, it sits at the corner here of Michigan and Pennsylvania, and it is a 62 by 137 foot lot.
Yep.
You've owned that for about 5 years now. So, all right, I'll let you go ahead and kind of give your petition, I guess, what you're asking for, and then anybody with the BZA who has questions can ask you those questions after that.
Sure. So first of all, I'm Robert Hoffman. I'm assuming most of you don't know who I am, since I haven't lived here very long in town. We just built a house here in town a year or so ago. And this is in regard, as was mentioned, to a property known as 50 East Michigan, or Lot 17 of Carter's Edition. And I'm interested in developing the property, and I want to put that ugly thing in the ground, or take it away and put it in the ground, and build something more decent there. And my first thought is to develop it into something multifamily that would not be on the low end of multifamily, it would be on the higher end of multifamily, which should be evident to you by some of the website what I thought I should apply for. Apparently I didn't get that completely right. But then again, I haven't settled on triplex or duplex, and I'm sure that there are some opinions in town as to both of those anyway. But definitely at least a duplex would be nice, and that is what I'm requesting. So I'll read directly from what I had written to you, part of the application, and that is, as regards a family new build, it is not clear to me, or hasn't been clear to me, whether or not a 30-foot setback from the road is also required in this older section, because it is my understanding it is required in a newer section of town where there are numerous multifamily or duplex dwellings. If that's the case, then because of the depth of the lot, that would be impossible for me to fulfill. So I'm asking for that particular setback requirement, if indeed it is in any way relevant to this portion of town, to be able to be lifted and brought back to the 15-yard setback, which is common for single family, as this particular home would in fact simply be a larger single family home footprint anyway. There is at least one multifamily home in the neighborhood that I'm aware of, one duplex. I don't believe it was a new build. I believe it may have been a add-on or rebuild of an original home. But I just do want to point out that there is already in this section of town that we're speaking about, in this portion of the addition, a multifamily home already. And as regards a new build, I have made no firm decision as to what the size, what type of multifamily, but you've already indicated that probably a triplex is going to be some significant steps. So this evening I am asking simply to be able to go from a single family build, which would just require me to get a building permit. That brings me here, though, asking for a variance to go to a duplex. So what questions do you have?
All right, so BZA members, do you have questions for Mr. Hoffman?
I think that maybe in your forward thinking, it would be nice to present to the board or the BZA board exactly what your project would look like, other than ideas, what we would see when we drive past there.
Yes. So my answer to that was that I'm not sure what the board will allow me. It appears to be a duplex. Now I could narrow in on a duplex. Up until this point, I was unsure as to where they would go, whether we would go single family build, which of course doesn't require me to be here, or duplex or triplex. The examples that I've given are somewhat indicative of the direction we're heading. Admittedly, to answer your question, no, they aren't narrowed down as to this is what you will see in final build. That is true. But if you know the home that we just built, I forgot the address, Ohio Street, on Ohio Street, I would prefer to build in a slightly more modern style, but sometimes that may be out of character with the neighborhood, and I would probably give some thought to staying in the character of the neighborhood. Hence the reason why the examples I gave you had both a modern style and a more contemporary style.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Will there be room for sidewalks? I know
Yes, it has to be.
the ones that are very good anyway, but
Okay, any more questions from BZA members?
how tall are you expecting, the height are you expecting these to be?
I think there's a direction on your website that requires it to be no more than 35 feet or something, I believe.
35.
In terms of, since we're already heading toward a duplex, or at least I'm asking for a duplex, it would probably, but not necessarily, but probably be no more than a single story. Therefore, it would be significantly under the maximum that you state.
So in the stack of paperwork that Pete gave you, the R5 has in the development standards the different setbacks.
Right.
Both Pennsylvania and Ohio Street are classified as a local road, and so that's where the setback would come in at. It would be so on this front yard setback says local road 15 feet minimum, for a side yard 15 feet minimum, and that's both sides, and then rear yard 15 feet minimum. So that's the setback kind of an idea that we'd be looking at on R5. Any other questions from BZA members?
Well, I hate to sound ignorant, but on the use of the variance, you said it's actually more reflective of the comprehensive plan as it provides for more density, as the plan suggests. What are you talking about density? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have that right in front of me, but I believe in your plan, in your comprehensive plan, I believe you note. I can't remember how it's stated. A city block. Something like it seems like every 4 or 5 properties, you're looking for a certain density requirement, and in that particular area there, I haven't gone to any other areas, but in that particular area, it doesn't meet that density requirement. In other words, if you are envisioning that you would like the density of the town to be at a certain point, that's not being achieved, but a multifamily can get it closer. So I'm trying to tell you that, look at me over here, I can help you out with that.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
So the density issues in a comprehensive plan talk about the moderate density kind of idea, 2.5 to 3 dwelling units per acre. So which we're not close to violating that density standard, even with adding one more dwelling unit on this corner. So that's part of that. What's in the comprehensive plan, which we're going to work on adding our comprehensive plan to the website. We have books here with our comprehensive plan if people need to reference it, but we're going to get it put on our website as well so people can see it. But these books are always here at Town Hall if you ever need to come in and reference those. I think every member of this board, these two boards, have a copy of it themselves, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions? BZA members. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Obman, I'll let you sit down, and you'll be allowed to come up and give a rebuttal to anything mentioned. All right. So, we're going to give you, 4 or 5 minutes to talk. Whoever wants to come up and talk about this. And I've seen Mr. Long's hand up in the air a couple times already. So why don't we start with Mr. Long?
Okay.
Come on up, introduce yourself, where you at?
My name is Wayne Long. I live 4820 Pennsylvania Avenue, or Street, sorry. And I'm here to talk in dissension of this particular allowance. When I put a storage building on my building, I was told that I had to stay to the 15-foot minimum on that property. So now somebody else next to me is going to come in and try to build one where they want the setback to be less than 15 feet from, let's see, what's her address? Her 3825 Michigan Street. Now, I talked to Jenny about this, and Mr. Hoffman came and talked to her, and she was kind of for it at first, but then I talked to her and showed her the actual paperwork. She had seen it, but she didn't understand it. So I talked to her, and after I talked to her, she was in dissension of it as well. Now, I asked her to be here. She is not here for work. So I said, can I speak for you verbally? She said yes, but I said without writing, I really can't do anything. So basically, now that I find out he's not building a triplex, I've chilled a little bit. But basically, by pushing that back, we're going to put driveways on Pennsylvania Street right at a corner. And then, of course, there's a setback for the well. I don't see a well on the property, but I have not been through the property, so I don't see where a well is. A well also has to be 30 feet away from the sewer lines. Which side of the street is the sewer lines on? I don't know.
Between your house and his house.
Oh, the sewer line runs down
The sewer
there?
line runs.
So it has to be.
Well, the
30
sewer,
feet away.
which we discovered it when we worked on this parking lot. So there was a sewer line at the house
That's what
that
the
was
user
at, right, 5 East Michigan, I think is what, or 12 East Michigan is where we got the parking lot. But we had a septic camera inspect it, and it went kind of at an angle at first, and then went what used to be an alley that we vacated a few years ago. To the lateral, or to the main, which the main is on Pennsylvania Street itself. You can find the manholes out there in the street for the sewer. So,
well, I also would like to say that changing this from an R5 would probably not make the people who live around it happy, because this is an old town style lot. It's designed for walkable areas, and with the short driveways that he's going to be putting in there, cars are going to be partially blocking that driveway. Well, not unless he gets a variance, he doesn't have to put the sidewalk back in. But these cars are going to be in the driveway and cause people to walk out into the street. That is probably the third busiest intersection in town. The church lot is right there. The post office exit is right there. The Clayton Cafe, and we know what a zoo the parking is there. And when the pizza place is in there, it's like an obstacle course trying to get through there. I seriously think that this would not help that at all, especially with people backing out, because people are going to be coming up to that intersection and looking both ways, and now that the car's backing out. So I see that is an issue with there. And also about the setbacks, with his proposal for a triplex. I was very disturbed about that, because that's a business, not a residential structure. And I could quote all kinds of codes and stuff for it, but I just want to make sure that we try to keep this area of town as old town as possible. And I know JJ over there bought a house similar to what he has, and he's turned it into a wonderful house. It's a great house. And being that this is a turn of the century house and it's a generational house, I'd hate to see it tore down if it could be rehabbed. But I know I have nothing to do about that because I don't own it. But I would like to see it turn back into a generational house. So that is mine. I feel that this is strictly for income-based property, and that Mr. Hoffman will not live on this property. So I am in ascension to it. Okay?
okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and who else was here to speak on this petition? General public. Is that it? All right, Mr. Hoffman, if you want to give a rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Is it? Yeah. So first of all, I hope I wasn't. I didn't explain myself well. I don't think my application in terms of the setback was I was under the impression that quite possibly if there was a an allowance for a duplex, they would require the 30-foot setback, and that makes it impossible to build a building. The setback that is currently in place, that's 15 foot, would remain, and a building could be built with that 15-foot setback. There would be no. I'm not asking for an encroachment upon that to 10 or 5 feet, or ending up with a garage virtually on the road, as you may think. So that the setback may be a little bit ill-explained, and I apologise for that. As for the state of the home, having been in and around the home, it is.
I've never been in.
Yeah. I'm sure if we walk through it, you'd agree. Yeah, that's a piece of crap. It needs to go. So it's not rebuildable. It will have to be taken apart and buried somewhere, and a new home built. And so my intent here is to build something new, and it will be complementary to the neighborhood. And I do understand your concerns of it being more of a business venture, and I'm not going to live there. That's a fair comment from somebody from the outside looking in. I can't offer you anything concrete outside of my own way of doing things, and that is around it. In my defense, I would say it may even upgrade the neighborhood, because when I look across the road or in a couple of other directions, it is not very complimentary, but in fact, a new build of the style that I will head toward, which I gave a couple of examples of, would be in fact an upgrade to the neighborhood. You make fair comments about parking. That is a very fair comment to make. So it would behoove me, if in fact you would allow me to build a multifamily, it would behoove me to have very strict rules about parking. And it may end up that in addition to that, of course, all of this is dependent upon how interest rates are and funding and so forth as to what you can build and can't build. But it may then mean that I will build a two-story, to your question earlier, so that I can add parking underneath instead of just a garage to the side, maybe two-car garage. But again, that's very relevant to how funding costs are, because those are all things that play factors in whether or not you can build to a standard and a style that you wish, or a standard and a style that you must. But that's a relevant question about parking, and I would, to assuage Mr. Long, I would definitely make some extremely strict rules that I can back up, by the way, because I literally live within eyeshot of the building, and I could back up and make sure that is being done, because I would be living very close. I'd be able to see whether or not those rules are being followed. Was there something that I missed?
The other, like the other doubles that
Yes.
I've seen in town have a driveway and a one-car garage at least.
Yes.
So is that something you're thinking of
Yes,
doing
yes.
with that? You would have
a minimum of one-car garage.
Okay.
Absolutely. And probably maybe one of the things you're going to say next is some of those driveways have cars parked in them, as Mr. Long has mentioned. There's other parking going on. The lot though is large enough. It is probably much larger than those lots down there, or at least it seems it is. And that would give some room to possibly even some gravel parking beside the buildings that would then take the vehicles off the road and away from the sidewalks, and allow that that pedestrian traffic while vehicles are not egressing the premises. Yes.
Any other questions from BZA members? Go ahead.
He brought up the subject that if there was no well listed.
No well that I can see.
Yeah, I think there's something there, but I would probably have to dig a new well, and I don't believe that. I can't understand whether or not that is, because I don't exactly know where the sewer line is, whether or not it has any distance from there. But there's plenty of room on the property to be any type of a distance from the sewer line. There's plenty of room on the property for that. Yeah, that's not really an issue. And according to the well digger, you can hit water. Well, here apparently, right here, everywhere.
I do have a question. I don't know if it's pertinent, but your accent is not from Indiana.
No.
How did you end up in Clayton and building your house, and then you want to build more?
Oh, it's lengthy.
Long story.
It's a long
Okay.
story. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. I was just
It's many
curious.
years.
Just curious.
But we used to live in North Salem,
Okay.
south of North Salem. We built a property on the before you turn to McLeod Park.
Right. No,
My wife's a horse trainer. We said we had a horse property there, and then we sold, and we just wanted something smaller. So these properties had come up for sale. So we hadn't necessarily looked to live in Clayton, brother, but we have ended up here. So,
okay.
But you'll find us to be good citizens. We're
Just curious how you ended up in a small town.
Yeah, we ain't from around here, but we're helpful.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is that all?
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
All right, so BZA members, any other questions, comments about what your responsibilities are or what you want to do next? So the variance request for the 15-foot setback, that's pretty much null and void, because if he's going to stay R5, he doesn't need that. Does that make sense? According to the design standards, his front yard would be 15 feet, his backyard, side yards, both 15 feet. So if he's stating that he can build within that property and stay away from that 15-foot perimeter, which I assume you've got a recent survey done, so you know where those property lines are, or you'll get one.
Actually,
He's kind of like, wait.
I have not had a recent
Okay.
survey. I've done an ad hoc walk survey.
All right. Obviously, before building a new place, you'd want to make sure that you got a survey and know where the setbacks might be.
There should be pins out there, because when I had my lot surveyed, they should have put pins out for the property line.
Okay. Be nice if they did. Sometimes we found that they don't always. So for the BZA members, the variance request for the setback is not something you're going to vote on. We don't need to worry about that. Okay. So your variance request is the one about the use variance. And like I showed you with our use standard, this would be a special exemption allowing a dwelling for two family. And that's it. That's the only option with this, a single family or a two family dwelling. So that would be there. And you've got your questionnaire response or finding a fact by the petitioner on what kinds of things on there. Any other questions on that? I know Diana asked about the density. Did anybody have any other questions on the comments for that?
Well, I think that went along with, if you're gonna go follow through with what you should have presented before the board before it breaks ground, that I done mention, and, you know, a model, it don't have to be a model on the table, but it could be a model of what this man wants to do. From drive and the way this is gonna look to the siding he uses, if he bricks it, or bricks and siding, or, you know, so that kind of sums that all up, I believe. But just saying modern or traditional, I mean, before it's voted on or whatever, I thought maybe you should have something a little better commonalities to give people to see that this is gonna be on their road. This man here's the neighbor.
All right, so you're saying that you don't want to make a decision on the variance tonight because you don't have a definitive or at least a tentative drawing and plan of here's what this is going to look like.
I mean, I think that's fair.
Okay.
You may build a
All right.
32 by whatever the length was, whatever, and I'm sure he wouldn't, but I mean, he ought to give the town something. Hey, this is what we got. We're going to put on this corner, you know, for the surrounding people. Period. I don't think that's a lot to ask. Just basic information. Down to parking, like variance of parking and where that stuff's going to be. He's got an idea where that's going to be and how that's going to look, probably in his head. But he would I would like to see, you know, like the ideas he's got, exactly what he wants to do.
All right, other BZA members want to weigh in on that?
I think it's a good idea. Plus, he doesn't have a survey done yet. There may be a complication regarding that aspect.
All right, Mary, I'm going to put you on the spot since you're here. Mary Strotter is our planner from Banning Engineering, so she helps us with a lot of stuff that we do here. Is that within the authority of the BZA to say we want to see more details before approving the variance?
That's what I was just looking at. I was trying to find the procedures, because if it wasn't necessarily requested on the application, I'm not convinced that that would be appropriate. I think what you could do, let me see if I can find it.
I know we have, our rules and procedures for the BZA. I don't remember seeing anything in that says, you can specifically ask for a design and a drawing, a blueprint, that kind of stuff. I know that if a variance is approved, he's still going to have to come back to Pete and get a building permit. He's going to apply for the building permit, and at that point, he has to have all those details in place for Pete to approve it. You could make a recommendation on, if we approve this variance, here's what we'd like to see. A driveway with, parking enough for the, 2 families that are going to be there. We want to see a design structure that fits with our old town style. We don't want to see just a,
in the process of all of this.
right. Just like, I'm going to bring up your duplex that you had a few years ago. We approved it with stipulations. We gave you some stipulations. So that is something that's within your authority. But I feel like you would be overstepping a little bit to say, I'm not going to approve this until I see the information that would have to be presented at the building permit stage.
That's fine.
Am I on the right track, Mary? Is that?
I would agree.
So I think those are good questions.
Sometime down the line, may not be tonight, but before it would be put in process, I think that would be a good idea for the surrounding people at least. What they're going to be driving
Know what
by.
they're gonna see, sure.
And I'm not real knowledgeable, I'm not BZA, but I'm not real knowledgeable about how all this works, but you say he needs to bring all that back to Pete when he gets a building permit and this and that, so then is it on Pete to approve or disapprove, or does it go to a vote for town council?
No, Pete would be able to make that decision on his own. Now, if he made a decision that the petitioner didn't agree with, then the petitioner would come back to you or back to the BZA and say, Pete's refusing to let me build this, and here's why I think I should. So that's the whole Board of Zoning Appeals reason for being there. So yeah, there's some checks and balances built into this. So you can decide to reject this altogether tonight, or you can decide I want to approve with a couple of stipulations.
That's where I'm at.
Parking, a garage, making sure the well is appropriately placed and not right on the sewer line. All these things that have been brought up or that you have concerns about. But again, I don't feel like it's your authority to say you have to breathe this. It can be one. All of Dwayne Lane's doubles have one well per building, and so they share, the 2 families share the one well, which is, I think it's risky, but it's a very common practice to happen, and apparently they're getting along well without it, or with that process. I don't know. I just think if my neighbor decided to shut off their power, I don't have any water now. But anyway, maybe he's got safeties built in that they can't shut off the well power or something. I don't know, but it's just, I know on my breaker box I have a button that says well. So
I never thought about that. Maybe you got to set all together.
sorry, I'm off track now. I'm on a tangent. I apologize. All right, so all right, any new information, Mary, or
No, I think that's good. Kind of thinking through some of those conditions and then going from there.
all right, so BZA members, the ball's in your court. What do you want to do with this?
Is this the final vote that we'll have before he breaks ground or doesn't break ground on each decision?
This is just simply, do we approve this variance that he's asking to allow him to tear down a single family building and build a double family, a dual
So
family
once we
building?
vote yes or no from here, will it ever come back to us to vote on anything once he breaks ground, or is it all on Pete?
Then it would go, to the town manager, and the town manager could either approve or disapprove of the building permit. If Pete refuses to give him a building permit for whatever reason, then he can appeal and come back to this meeting and say, I want to appeal this decision. And then the BZA would be able to weigh in again on, did our stipulations get followed? Is this following our design standards, our development standards that are in the R5
Before the
district?
before it's issued. Be
Right.
issued, would issue.
Well, it had to be within the stipulations that you guys decide.
Right. Okay. So BZA members, sure. All right. Hold on. We got another question in the audience.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. My name's Brian Lett. I live over on Pennsylvania Street. I live across the street from Wayne, unfortunately. But what I'm hearing is, if we approve this, or if it gets approved, then the people that live on the street are not, it's possible that they'll never see what he's gonna build before it gets built.
That's what I was saying.
And I know,
We should, that would have to go before he gets a permit. You would have to agree.
yeah, I would like to see
Right.
what it looks like. I mean, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I would just like to see what it's gonna look like before it gets built, instead of saying,
That's what I'm talking
okay, well, it's built and I don't like it, so there's nothing I can do, so.
Well,
Is there a public period?
hold on. I mean, people get building permits all the time without having to check with their neighbors. Is this okay? Because it's your property and you get to do what you want to with it as long as it's not harmful. And I don't believe Pete would let him build something harmful over there. If the BZA tonight says, here are our stipulations, then we all have to just live with the fact that these folks have made this decision based on the rules and what is he's telling us that he wants to do, and then it's kind of one of those unfortunate circumstances that you either you are absolutely right. You will not get to make that decision. And I don't know that I would want my neighbor to be able to tell me what I can do with my property. So, and as long as I wasn't doing something harmful in my property. I mean, some of the uses that we have in our UDO are kind of questionable. I'm like, it says that you can build your own little wastewater treatment plant if you want to on your property. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be in favor of my neighbor building a wastewater treatment plant, but I don't think he's going to build a wastewater treatment plant over at this corner. I think he wants to build a double that he can rent to people. So this is
going to stay within the old town field. I'm the oddball property in that whole section. I'm the only brick house, and I don't know how that house was built brick back then, but it was back in the 90s. The BZA probably didn't even think about that type of stuff. But as long as it has the feel of the area.
well, and like I said, that can be a stipulation that the BZA chooses to place on this approval of the multifamily or the duplex style building. It's, just one of those things that they would be able to do that.
So are there several of you who have this concern about the look of this building? Can you enunciate what exactly this design standard that you're thinking of is? What is? You mentioned something about brick. Is it?
Most of the houses that are in the R5 area are Old Town. They're older houses that were built either before 1900 or after 1900 in our district, in our little area that we have, and they're generational homes. And a lot of the new styles are built to a different standard than the old style homes. And when they build them with different materials. They look different, and they look out of place with the rest of the homes in the area when they build that way. You kind of understand what I'm saying?
So a lot of them are arts and crafts style, not Victorian or not gingerbread cookie cutter.
I'm not saying he has to do Victorian or anything like that. I'm just saying try to keep it in the style of the houses that are around it so it fits in with the neighborhood, because people drive by my house and go, why is there a brick house in this neighborhood?
We're not shutting you down.
Oh,
It's
there's a
just
nice one
because
there now.
you're making an improvement to the property town
Yes.
because
So-
it was
so-
already there.
Right.
Do I need to take that?
No,
So to address that, I'm not a big fan of brick, so I wouldn't build a brick home. It's not really my thing. Besides, it's significantly more expensive. So to the design standards or this craftsman style that you mentioned, I'm not sure the generational homes. I'm thinking it's a home that gets added onto as
Well, they were built with non-dimensional lumber. So a 4x4 is a 4x4, a 2x4 is a 2x4, and it's built with oak, so they last a long time. And they were basically built to different standards, like balloon construction, and we both know that balloon construction is horrible. But balloon construction, it was a style of building that is kind of lost now. But I'm not saying balloon construction is good. It is not. As a firefighter, it is terrible. That's what I'm saying. Basically, trying to keep it with the neighborhood. I know you're going to use new materials. It's kind of crazy to say no, but it's the style, like, not aluminum trim that's 12 inches deep or something like that. Gutters and.
Okay. So for those of you who are going to lean in this direction of I don't know about this character and what he's going to build, I can verbally, if I can put it in writing, I would. I can verbally hold myself to a design standard that would reflect the neighborhood. It was something as I showed in the examples that I gave, that there were several ways I could go, and I was not undecided as to which. If that's the way that you wish, that's my decision. I'll build a home that is somewhat relevant to the neighborhood. It obviously won't be the construction styles of yesteryear, since balloon framing has been supplanted by platform framing, and the gentleman knows, of course, that the reason why it is a safer home, because balloon framing allowed a fire to get into a cavity and go into the ceiling within minutes, whereas platform framing and block framing, blocking on the walls, traps fire in air cavities and allows firefighters to get on the scene and put it out much more quickly. Actually, the old farmhouse we once had was a balloon frame farmhouse, and it had its own problems. So that building style would be obviously a modern standard of building, and Pete knows that he's going to inspect to that standard. But the design completion, the design look, would then be relevant to the neighborhood, which would be, from what I can remember, most of the neighborhood has gabled homes, gabled roofs. Most of it's siding, horizontal. I don't see any vertical siding that I know of. And what other standards? It would not be wood. It would not necessarily, and I will say this, I would prefer not to do a wood exterior, rather more of a high quality vinyl. But if the board says, or if the BZA members here have a particular desire to see wood, that's something I would need to hold myself to. I'm just saying that I would prefer to have the flexibility between that's a good quality vinyl versus wood But again, that's something I may hear differently from you. I don't know what other design standards. Window quality is a lot better today than it used to be. You'll find that a lot of those older ones in the neighborhood are energy inefficient beyond belief. Today's windows are significantly more energy efficient. Probably not a lot of windows, to be fair. So I don't know if the design in the neighborhood boasts a lot of windows typically. Just as a building aside, a window is a hole in the wall covered over, and that's where you have your hair loss. The more you can limit window sizes, even with a top quality window, it is still a hole in the wall, and it is not the R25 of the wall beside it. By the way, I would probably build in a 2x6 exterior wall, which allows for an R25. Most of the homes in that neighborhood are probably a 2x4 construction. They are barely an R20, barely, if they ever get there. They're probably more like an R18 or something. So I would build it in a much more energy efficient way. Part of that reason is I don't want a renter to have an exorbitant bill and then not be able to pay their rent. You want to keep those utility costs as low as possible, so that guess what happens next? Then the people have a car up on blocks because they can't afford to fix the motor. You know, the more you try to tap that individual and save money yourself, you might be shooting, if not yourself in the foot, then at least the neighborhood. And I'll tell you, it is not my desire to shoot the neighborhood in the foot. The home sitting there right now is doing so because it's pitiful. I'd like to replace it with something better, and I would prefer it to be a double. But again, I can hold to it, those type of standards, verbally speaking, and people be able to review that when the application comes.
All right, BZA members, what is your decision there?
I will vote yes for it, on my stipulation later.
Make a motion.
I motion to forward that.
Motion to approve
Mr. Hoffman's
the variance request of
request to
a
define
dual
dual
family home. By keeping all the other standards of the R5 zoning, and then any other stipulations on
The only stipulation I had couldn't be
parking.
brought up this time, which was parking, some kind of visibility, like we've all mentioned so far, about what this man's gonna put there. But he's explained to us, which I have no reason to believe he wouldn't.
All right, so I got a first motion on accept this variance for use of the two-family dwelling with a parking available area and a design standard that fits the neighborhood.
That's correct.
Okay, got a first motion then. Okay, Brian, you gonna second it? All right, Brian seconds it. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Very good. All right, so next on the agenda, we have our wayfinding banners that we've been talking about, and we needed to get on the stick and finish this by June. So what else do we need to do to have this all finished by June?
Pete and I went out just after the meeting and tagged poles and sent them to Duke because they're the same poles as what we're going to have Duke run power to. So I have a map of that, and I didn't get it printed out. But we selected poles from down at Leanne's florist, is Crawford, from Crawford. Selected poles on kind of bouncing back and forth down 39 as we could, all the way down to
500 South
Amo Road.
Okay.
And then over to almost to the cul-de-sac. And we picked out poles kind of were very visible. And so those poles will be where the downtown banners will go. And then The other poles we will use for the DAR poles. Might have to move some brackets.
Okay.
And I will email everyone that pole location map so you can see it, but I don't have that.
Okay. Are there more information? Do we need kind of a concentrated effort on finding the businesses that want to sponsor
We need to start that.
these? All right. So who wants to spearhead that? Anybody want to go around and talk to businesses that might want to sponsor a wayfinding sign in town?
I will do that.
You want to? Okay. Right.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll get started on that, but we need to come up with $150 is what we set at, right?
100, I believe. 100 was what we decided on. Do you need it to be 150, or is that are they more expensive than we thought?
No, 150 sticks in my head.
That's $100. You're getting 50 when you're talking about splitting cost or something. There was some discussion about that. Maybe that's where the 50 is coming from.
Well, I think when Leanne calculated up 50% of the total cost of everything was the $100.
Okay.
Is that maybe what we were?
Yeah.
So.
And the town is covering the other.
Right.
Well, the town's going to cover everything up front, which kind of we already have.
Right.
And so this is just to get back and supplement some of the
cost of the banners.
And then we still need to add the wayfinding to the key locations, little wayfinding banners at the bottom of it. So, but I'll spearhead that.
Okay, excellent. Anything else on the wayfinding signs that we need to work on in order to get this done by June?
Have the brackets been ordered?
I don't know if Jenny went ahead and ordered them or not, but I mean, the money's been allocated. It's just a matter of telling her to send them. I'll find out about that too. And I'll post all that on the website in case somebody wants to get information along with the other items.
Okay, excellent. All right, anything else on the wayfinding signs that we need to discuss tonight?
The sponsorships, people who sponsor. Once we get those sponsors, don't we need to order their banners?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll have to be done. I mean, we're in March already, so.
Is that money's already been allocated to, as far
That
as?
all of that
ordering
was
it?
included in the original cost. I can go back and find out for sure about it. All of the wayfinding portion and the other part was the sponsorship was drop down banner was included. But I'll find out more about that if it's changed. So they're very easy to work with.
I was just thinking if you're ordering one banner at a time for each sponsor.
No, I think we want to get a collective order and then
Collective
order. Yeah.
Okay.
How many were there be?
12. Yeah. We ended up with 12 as the number that we settled on. And then there's a second portion to the whole banner program that we will go for after we get all these done, and that's just some nice banners that would go out throughout the town, just not designating the old business area of town. So, have you guys seen? Some of you guys haven't seen the banners. Pete, could you get up one of the banners? Would you mind?
They're creating.
You go ahead and sign me up for one.
Okay. See, I'm already doing my job.
There you go. Yeah, that was quick. All right. I like it. Integrity Mechanical.
You got another one there.
Fixed my hot water heater for me.
Same on both sides.
Here comes Model P.
Ooh.
You did so well.
That's
I
why
like
he
it.
makes the big cuts.
Yeah.
It's like the third or fourth time he's modeled.
Then the sponsor will have a tag off the bottom.
Okay. So that'll go up and then the sponsor will be below it?
Like a little
Yeah.
ring. Ring.
Not super
Rings.
Oh yeah, just like a ring. Like a large, like a really large key ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, not sequin.
They look like a C when they're open, and then you close them. All right. All right. Anything else on wayfinding? All right. We're running out of time quickly, but Mary, you're here again. So, what kinds of information did you bring back for us from all of our work with our UDO?
Yes. Okay. These out here. Now I'm sorry because it's all spread out. Plan commission members.
So, yeah, Terry's a planning commission. Dave. Diana. And then Edith sitting right next to you back there.
Okay, so my name's Mary Strader. For those of you who don't know me, I work for Banning Engineering. I'm a planner there, and I've been doing some UDO updates, revisions, because I feel like as you recognize tonight, it gets a little complicated when you're working through that document, and we're hoping to better align it with the comprehensive plan as well. So this past month, I did a lot of really reformatting, just to kind of eliminate some confusing elements within it, and again, conflicting text that's incorporated in the document. So here at the top, you can see the contents for the UDO draft revisions. That will be the order of the document. It'll kind of group things together a little easier. Right now, the way it's set up, Chapter 2 has a ton of content, which is great. It's good that it's in there, but it's kind of hard to find specific things when you're looking, for example, for rules and regulations and different things that are required. So that's broken down a little bit better in that sense. And then I've also, as you can see in the second point there, with the table, we have items that were in the current UDO that have just been translated over to the draft revisions, just in that format that I have above that. I've also included on the second, third, and fourth page here, we had talked last week about looking at potential accessory dwelling standards. So I have some of those included. Again, thinking through the applicability of that, the development standards of those, what the structure standards would be, the site standards, as well as any sort of utility or drainage standards included with that. It does bring up some concerns. I think it could be a concern, it could be a positive, negative, depending on how the community wants to proceed with that, but you'll have to think through whether you want any sort of provisions about short-term rentals. And so I had two definitions at the end of the page there, kind of talking through that. But I wanted to give that to you to be able to review, and then talk as well and determine how you want to move forward with that. I think in strategy 6, it was mostly discussing the ADUs in the Old Town residential area, but I just put all of the residential classifications. We can talk through what that would look like. I did mark the R1 because I think we also had a discussion last month about how there isn't R1 zoning within the town. So just thinking through whether or not that's something for the future, or if that's worth continuing to keep in the ordinance, or you want more of the large lot to be R2. I also...
When I think we had looked R1 and I think it was R4 maybe, they were almost identical.
Yeah.
And so that was why we thought.
Yes. And I've started to line them up side by side to verify, because there are some differences. And I think R4 is the one that allows multifamily. So that would be one of
the things too, we kind of have to think through with some of that. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. One other comment with the accessory dwelling standards under the structure standards table there. From the information I had found, you could include manufactured homes in this. I do know that your ordinance only allows them as a special exception in the ag district, so I marked that out, assuming that that wouldn't be the direction the town wanted to go in, but obviously that's open for discussion and determination. The other red highlights included in there are items that I just need to go back and make sure that I have the right processes incorporated with the ADUs. Okay. Questions?
Now, the adopting the changes, are we wanting to go through the process of adopting them in bite-sized pieces, or do we want to wait until we've revamped from
Yeah, I
A
would
to
suggest
Z
that we do it at the end.
and then adopt
Mhm.
all
And
of
then
them
we'll
together?
Have, the community come review it as well. Be public notice for that for them to
Public
be able to
hearing,
review it. Mhm.
and then it has to go to the town council to be finalized as an adoption. Okay. All right. Any questions for Mary from anybody on the work she's doing with our updating our UDO?
Well, I like the way this is laid out.
Yeah, me too. That'll make a huge difference with people being able to
Navigate. Yeah.
right. It's English. Look at that. And it's going to be designed for Clayton, unlike what we've currently been using. It was somebody used a different town's UDO and just slapped our name on it.
Yes.
So this will be good.
Yeah. And I did notice as well some duplication in the purpose paragraphs, especially for some of the residential. So I'm working on drafting some updates to that to define those better. Again, just so anyone who's using the document understands R1's or R2's difference between R5 and can easily recognize that. So, yep. Any other questions?
All right. Thank you so
Great,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate all your help with this.
Absolutely.
This is a daunting task. All right. So, BZA members, anything further that you feel like you need to discuss tonight for the good of the order? Planning Commission members, anybody have any additional things to talk about tonight? All right, it's 7:03. I try to these meetings an hour or less, so we're just slightly over. So I will go ahead and have busy lives, and so I appreciate you being here. All right, at 7:03, we will meeting adjourned.